My name is Vicky Collado. I am a director and friends with this guy.
Yeah.
And who are you?
Hi, my name is Ruben Rabasa, and I'm been working with Vicky Collado. So we both been together for how long?
Since 2019.
2019. That's right.
It
So-
sounds like a romantic relationship, and we
That's
have to be
right.
clear that we do not have a romantic relationship.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get a divorce from you pretty soon. I tell you that.
So, just out of curiosity, if we went bilingual, is everybody bilingual in the room? Yeah. Okay, great. So that might just happen because that is actually the nature of our friendship and relationship. So, Ruben, can you tell me who you are and what you've done in the world in terms of acting?
Bueno, first, I came to the United States in 1955, before all the problem with Cuba and with Fidel Castro and everything. And the first thing I did is I was part of a group they called Añorada Cuba, and we used to do shows every year for all the Cuban people that were in New York to remind about Cuba, because they were missing, they want to go back and everything. So, and then I created a theater they called, with two friends of mine, Orestes and Miguel Ponce, and we named the theater by the year. We said 1968, we say 68 theater, and 1969, 69. And we used to bring plays from South America and Central America, translated into English and put it in New York, and we do it in both. We do it in Spanish and English, everything that was done in New York. Then I created an organization they call Latin Actors,
Hispanic Organization of Latin Actors.
That's right, thank you.
The reason I know that, and this is what's crazy, is that later on in my stint in New York, I ended up getting an award from Ola, which is later on when I learned that it was you who created it. It kind of made much more sense, and it was much more fun.
Yeah, I created in my house. I got about I got about 7 or 8 actors, and we got together and we created that, and really is until now this one of the biggest organizations in New York right now. And then there was a building that they built in Manhattan. They called Manhattan Plaza. Manhattan Plaza. They would try. What happened at Fifth Avenue is where all the rich people here on the east side. The rich people live on the east side, and the blue collar live on the west side. So they want to change that, and they made the Manhattan Plaza that cost $95 million for the rich people to move to the west side too, but nobody want to move there. And they had the building finished with everything, and what's happening is that they went into the government, and the government helped to get people to move into the building. And what they did is they give 70% to the artists, which is Broadway, the Broadway actors and everything, 50% for the people in the community, and another 50% for the old people. And they made a group, which I was part of that group too, that you can have one apartment, one brand new, with everything, with swimming pool. The swimming pool has a glass that you can see the snow coming down, and you can be swimming in the water and everything. And you have tennis, everything. And you pay what you make in a week. That's what you pay a month. They say if you make $200, you will have the whole apartment for $200 plus utility.
And it's still like that. So this might be like, why are we talking about apartments? But this literally is the foundation of who Ruben is, and we'll get to why.
That's right. You gotta get to know why.
But
the reason I'm talking about that is because all the American actors was able to get into the building, but then the Spanish, they have no way to prove that they were, they were working in their country. So I helped them to get all the information in Spanish for them to get into the building too.
And do you want to say who had special meetings in your particular apartment?
Oh yes, it was. Well, there were no this there was directors and actors and Andres Nobrega, Il Catania Payan, a lot of people that was in New York at that time.
But you're missing the big one.
Oh, that's another thing. What's happened is, let me tell you what happened.
This is Ruben, by the way. All of a sudden, he's like, by the way, like he's telling you about these people, and then there's a Meryl Streep story.
That's right. What happened is, Nestor Almendro, it was a cinematographer from Cuba, and he was the one who filmed. He was part of the movie, Kramer versus Kramer, The Blue Lagoon, Sophie Choice, and he won an award for Days of Heaven. So when he was doing Kramer versus Kramer, he wanted to come to my apartment in Manhattan Plaza because he likes my apartment. So I said, okay, you can stay with me. And then I said, but one condition, you cannot say that you live here. I'm the one who live here. So Meryl Streep used to come to the building and say, I want to see Ruben Rabasa. And then what was the other? Dustin Hoffman coming and say, all those big stars, and they don't even know who the hell is Ruben Rabasa, but they have to say Ruben Rabasa to get inside of the building. So that's another thing that happened too. So those people, they know me, but they don't even know who I am. That's what I want to say about.
So then you come to Miami.
Then I come to Miami, and in Miami there was a theater they called Teatro Martí, which is its main has about five theaters in the same building. So I was trying to help him to make it into, but I talked to the el alcalde, ¿cómo se dice alcalde?
The mayor.
The mayor is the one that he helped me to give me some money, but we never make it. But I really worked hard for them to get the theater up in there, and I wanted to. So then I worked a lot of movies in here. I worked in Miami Vice with I got killed 5 times, and
that's not an exaggeration.
And then every time I said, listen, 2 weeks ago I got killed. So don't worry, we're gonna put a wig and a hat, and you are somebody else now. So that's what it's part of my life.
And you were in the classic, the Police Academy #5.
Oh yes, Police Academy #5 was one of the big. It's what I love about that movie that I made it in 1895.
1985. You're not that old.
I'm not that old. I forgot. I'm a mess. But anyway, 1985, and I still get a lot of residuals because I love that. As a matter of fact, I think about 3 months ago, I get $500. I said, no, they made a mistake. How can it be $500 per dollar? That movie they keep seeing and they keep showing it to right away. I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have in the Spanish industry. That sometimes we make movies and we make soap opera, and they pay for one time, but they don't pay residuals. And I remember when I went to Peru and I went to some other countries in South America, and they say, Pedro. I said, why did they call me Pedro? My name is Ruben Rabasa. Why did they call me Pedro? Because I did a show they called Corte Tropical, that it was very good in Univision, and they put it in every one of these countries, and then they come in and they talk to me and say, even it was a Brazilian woman who said, in Portuguese, no, she said, usted es Pedro. I said, what is she talking about? But anyway, that's what happened,
But it's interesting because I think the majority of at least our generation knows you from Corte Tropical and from Sábado Gigante. Those were, and that's where I first technically meet you.
I know. That was another thing too.
Like through the TV, not in person. I was not a child star, thank God.
When Don Francisco, which is a guy who was doing the Sábado Gigante, called me, he said, Ruben, I need you to do joke. I said, but I'm an actor. What are you talking about to do joke? I don't want it. But he said, we're going to pay you $500. I said, don't worry, tomorrow I come in with 2 or 3 jokes. So, but I was going crazy because they have a guy from Colombia and a guy from Mexico, and they have a Spanish joke booths in those countries. But over here, there was the English joke that I had to translate it into Spanish, and sometimes those English jokes don't work. You know, like they say chicken wire, and we say, how do you say chicken wire in Spanish?
Pollo.
No, they don't. It's a different. But anyway, but the problem is that I was going crazy trying to translate. Until one day I found one. Do you want me to tell you the one I found? You want to hear the one that I find out? That is very good. Okay. The one that I translated was this guy who comes home and he thinks that his wife is fooling around. Oh. So he look all over the apartment and he don't see anybody. So over the zone, he goes into the living room and he saw the hand of this man hanging from the window sill. So he looked at his wife and said, here is that guy. So he went into the kitchen, picked up the refrigerator and threw it over the window. He got a heart attack and he died. He goes to heaven and St. Peter said, what are you doing here? He said, well, down there, I was a very jealous man, and I thought my wife was fooling around. So I looked around, and I found the hand of this man in the window, and I threw him in the refrigerator. I said, okay, take it easy. Go inside that room. So the other guy come in and said, what are you doing here? He said, well, I was painting the building with the hand in the window sill. When I saw this refrigerator came on top of me, he said, oh, okay, I can see that. Go inside that room. So the next guy come in and say, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm very nervous. I'm very cold. I was inside of the refrigerator when everything happened. So that was the first joke that I said.
And it opened many doors in that aspect.
That's right. It opens a lot of doors for that,
So there are 85 years of life, so we're just gonna speed it up just a smidge. But I just have to warn everybody, there's a lot of jokes between us that have to do with age and other things that we're not gonna talk about.
That's right.
But but so eventually you moved to LA and you actually work a lot there. You work with Adam Sandler. You do the show Taina.
I was in This Is Us, Criminal Minds. A lot of these shows that everybody sees, I've been in there.
But you've been consistently working for 60 years.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically Taina, seeing you in Taina and saying, hey, the guy from Sábado Gigante is in Taina. I'm like, oh, look at that crossover. That's crazy. Look, that's amazing. I know that guy. Mm-hmm. So, and then eventually, let's say 2019 comes around. Mm-hmm. You do this show called I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know you did, because I didn't know you at that point. And I'm not necessarily an I Think You Should Leave kind of, I'm not their target audience, I would say. But you do this show and you're the focus group man.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened. When they called me to do the show that I did the audition, I found that the script was crazy. I said, oh my God, this is crazy. I don't know what to do, but I need money, as always, So when I went there, I asked them how much they're going to pay me. They said, Ruben, we're only going to pay you $335. I said, well, okay, I have no other choice. So I did it. So when I did it, when they start filming, I was just saying, I'm just going to be me. I'm crazy, so I'm going to be crazy. So I did it, and everybody was laughing, and they had to stop the show continually. And I said, but what are they laughing for? What are they laughing? Because I was me going, saying the thing. And with my accent and everything, everybody loved it. So when they finished to do the show, I was looking in Facebook, and then the first thing I see is, I find the most funny man in this world, Ruben Rabasa. So I start from there. Every time that I walk in the street, oh my God, you were incredible. You were this. So they did in LA. They did a presentation of the show, and the only one that they bring to that presentation was the director, the writers, and the producer. It was me, nobody else. And almost everybody who works in that show were from Saturday Night Live. So there were people that really
They're fun.
They're funny. That's right.
They're paid to be funny.
That's right.
So all of this is happening in LA, and over here in Miami, I'm directing the show called The Amparo Experience, and we if you ever saw that show, there was like 5 ways to watch it. You had like 5 tracks, and we had this telenovela superstar playing one of the roles. However, the guy gets. Why are you laughing, bro?
No, because I know what's coming up. Okay.
So the guy, we're supposed to run this show for maybe like a month or so, or like 2 months, but the show keeps getting extended, and the guy has a telenovela contract somewhere, and our producer, may he rest in peace, George Caudera, was like, you know what, we need to replace him, and I know just the guy. I'm like, who? And he's like, Ruben Rabasa. I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. He shows me the picture. I'm like, oh, Sábado Gigante guy. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess so, but we already had trouble with the previous guy that he couldn't learn his lines. And now he's sending me this 80-year-old. And I'm like, what is like, it's also a hard show. Like when you're doing like an immersive show, there's a lot of things to deal with. Like there's like not only learning the lines, you have to learn the tracking. There's like 5 plays going on at the same time. And we had experience already with like some of the older actors in the show having trouble understanding like how they were going to do it. And they had 3 months to prep. I'm like, this guy has to come in for 1 day and do this. I'm like, all right. So I fly in from New York. They fly him from
LA.
Mm-hmm. And Ruben watches the show before I get there, right? I hadn't even gotten here. Yeah. I actually missed my flight.
Yeah.
The day that the day before that I was supposed to meet you. So you go and you watch the show, and I meet him the next day, and this guy's off book. Like he's just off book. He knows every single line. He knows exactly what he's going to do. I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? And on top of that, he has the most impeccable timing that I've ever seen in my life, because I think that that's your superpower. Your timing. And I wouldn't just say just for acting, or I mean comedy, I mean in drama and everything. You just understand. You have like an internal metronome that is by far one of the best things I've ever seen. And not just because I love you, it's just the truth. So I'm like, all right, we have hope here. And so he comes into the show. He's supposed to be in the show for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be in the show in 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, he essentially steals the show from everybody. Everybody's coming because they want to be on the Ruben Rabasa track. And they're like, no, I want to go to the Ruben Rabasa track. I want to go on the Ruben Rabasa track. And all of a sudden, the show is selling out. But 1/5 reason for Ruben Rabasa. And I think that they ask you, like, can you stay? And you were like, no.
Yeah, I know. Let me tell you, the first day that I worked in the show, we have a scene that we're supposed to be coming down the stairs singing, with each one has a thing. And there was this lady who, as soon as she see me, she say, Rabasa, I thought you were dead. And I say, yeah, no, I'm the spirit, don't worry. So, and then another thing that happened one day, so it's like, each one has a group out of the 75 people that come to see the show every day. Each one has a group, and then we got it. Each one tell the story separated from the other 4. But sometime, one day there was something happened that I was waiting to go upstairs, and I run out. I have nothing else to say. So I said, I got to find out something, because the one that's supposed to be my wife was Edna. So I say, I got to do something about it. So I look at everybody and I say, I love Edna, and every morning I used to sing for her.
Let's just, hold on. Before you say this, because this is, we just had trouble with people adding lines when they weren't supposed to. And then Ruben Rabasa found, so that he was waiting, and then he does this. Go ahead.
I say today, okay, and every morning I say to Edna in the morning, Edna in the evening, Edna in the supper time. Be my little Edna and love me one more time. So and now everybody sing with me. So I start everybody singing with that. Then I say, I got to do another song. My God, this song is. So I go, I have another one. The other one is, embrace me strong, embrace me like this. I have a little tickle in my wee. Okay. So everybody was going up the stairs singing the song. And
And so I'm upstairs, and all of a sudden I'm hearing "Embrace Me Strong." Embrace. I'm like, what the hell is
but
happening?
I had to solve the situation. What can I do? There's nothing else that I can do.
And thank God that you're you and that you're endearing, because anybody else does that and it would be big trouble. But the audience would eat it up, and that's just something that, when you spend 8 months with someone like Ruben, you start noticing just like how special he is, like how people just gravitate towards him, how he's very truthful and honest and authentic in the way that he does things, and he can literally get away with anything. So we're like, all right, you can keep that, but no more other than that. Like, that's the limit. And so he did, and then battle ends.
Yeah.
Because they essentially, the building was like, it needed to be sold, and they're like, all right, guys, you either pay us way too much or we sell it to somebody who can pay for the entire block. We're like, all right, it's time to go. So we closed the show, but I think that then we were like, we have to keep working together, and we have to keep being in each other's lives. So
then comes the Cubans.
Then comes the Cubans. So I do this show at Miami New Drama. It's called The Cubans, and they needed this. We needed an older gentleman that had to be in his 80s and was at the beginnings of Alzheimer's. And I say, oh, I know the guy. And they're like, who? And I'm like, Ruben Rabasa. You have to. I'm working with him right now. He's the best guy on the planet. He's the guy to do it. And they're like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, no. Listen to me. You need this guy. This guy is the guy. So they make Ruben audition, which at that particular moment, I was like, this is like, I'm telling you that I want the guy. This is biased. I already know I'm going to give him the role, but we're going to go through this process. Ruben comes in and, of course, steals everyone's heart. Like, literally just steals the room. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. I'm like, I know. I've been telling you that this is the guy. We do the show, and the show... I think that it was a hard show, number one, also because there was a lot of things that happened in it, but like structurally, like the piece was like one type of show at the beginning and a different type of show at the end.
And not only that, we had to change the whole system of the theater, because the theater is like this. You have the people sit over there, and we put the theater in the middle, and we make everything going around, to can watch it. And that was, we had to change
the whole thing.
The whole thing.
And which was harder on you guys, because then the acoustics weren't working, which goes to like the whole premise of, I know that we've just given you mostly like a background here, but this is the premise of what it's like to work with people from two different generations.
That's right.
Because projection was different, and like how you spoke changed everything. And although the thing about Ruben is that he's sneaky in the sense that you forget his age 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I always forget that. I always think you're 35.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I really do. And I remember that there was this one moment where you fell. I remember you falling, and you literally jumped back up. And I was like, what? And you were like little Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You jumped back up, and then someone who was younger than him fell and couldn't get back up. I was like, this is something. It was a very tumultuous thing, but we had to talk about like a microphone and things like that. Which, what was that like for you? Because, ¿te acuerdas de eso?
Yeah. And let me tell you something secret about me. I'm from another planet. No. No, but I think that one of the biggest problems that the people started getting old, and I hate a word they call retire. There's no such a thing of word retire, because sometimes, because you retire from a job, it doesn't mean that you're not going to continue your life. Your life is going to continue no matter what. And then what you have to make yourself, understand that you are not retired. I retired the day that I die. That's it. When I die, and a lot of people don't think about that, and that's what I say to Vicky most of the time. And like, I'm sorry, I had to go because I just thought about something. One of the things that she said to me, how to to work between she's younger and the older, I always say this. I use something they call my rule of three, okay? And the reason of my rule of three is because during our, ¿cómo se dice? Existencia?
Existence.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
You were just.
Okay. During our existing in the world, there's 3 steps. The first one is education. The second one is creation. And the third one is share what you learn from education and creation to the new generation. You got that? Okay, yeah. So, okay. So, most of the time what happens is people say, no, before was better than now. No. The world is much better now than before. One of the things that I love is the cell phone. Remember, long time ago, if I had to find for something, I had to go to the library, get a book, bring it home, read it, find out after I read 400 pages to find out something that I needed 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? And then bring back the book to the library. So today with the cell phone, boom, right away. I remember one day there was a party. I'm sorry, I talking too much? No. Okay, well anyway.
You have 2 hours. Like we're
Okay,
here. I shouldn't have told you that actually.
No, thank you. So I remember that I did it when I was 50 years old. I make a big party, and a lot of friends came over, and somebody said, Ruben, when did you were born? I say I was born April 13, 1938. I was born in a Holy Week. And he said, oh, wonderful. So I left. 5 minutes later, the guy touched my soul. He said, you were born in the Holy Week. The Holy Week, in the year that you were born, it was the next week, not the week that you were born. I said, okay, you know, Pastor Robert, and I thought that I was born the Holy Week. Because of the cell phone. Right away, he went, and he found out what day that I was born. You know what I mean? He gets me so mad about it. Anyway. Okay, what I was talking about?
I have no idea anymore. We were talking about the question I asked you is like, so I think one of the things that we are, not because this is a talk about how awesome we are, but one thing that I love about how we work together is that we take each other's ideas pretty.
But that's right. That's what it should be. You know what I mean? You tell me something, and I listen to her. I think my rule 3. I think, I analyze, and I decide my rule 3 again. You know what I mean? So that's what I do. So every time she tells me something, and of course, you know what happened with the old people, that sometimes the young people, they think, oh, he's old. And then if we listen to that, we follow what they say, and all until I disappear. You know what I mean? That's the problem. No, I mean, you're right, and I'm right. And what happened to most of the young people at the beginning, they think more about sex than anything, okay? All right? And then when you get to the age of 35 or 40, when you don't, the sex is not that important, is when you start realize the important or not the important things in life.
So are you saying that I was just crazy about sex and I didn't listen to you?
I don't know about that.
Oh, that. Jesus. But I wasn't like that is your point, right?
No, but that's my point. That's what I tried to bring up my point.
Never getting hired again as a director. Never happening again. It's like this sex crazed ageist.
No, but it's true. It's true. Because I remember when I was 20, 25, 26, I don't think like I think now. My life, that's what you get the experience that you say. I hope I will have the experience that I have now when I was 25, 30 years old. Because that's what it is. That's what really it is.
Well, and I mean, there is a difference. I mean, now I'm 34. Wow.
Okay. You're getting there.
I'm getting there. But I do feel a difference, not removing the sex part, but I do feel a difference in how I think about things. And I think you have a big part of that because I was told my mentor was like, number one thing as a director is just work with people who are smarter than you. That's just like number one. You don't have to have the best idea. You have to pick the best idea.
That's right.
That's your job. who cares if it comes from me or from you? Like, if your ego needs to be the person who has the best idea, then you're not doing the job. So I always felt like that was something that was gifted to me, and I've carried that. But there is something about getting older, and we've gotten into plenty of discussions of, like, in projects, of what we should talk about, what we shouldn't talk about. And sometimes Vanessa, who's my business partner and my creative partner, and I are like telling Ruben, like, Ruben, nobody cares about that anymore. Nobody cares about that. And then you're like, no, people care about that. People care about that. And then we've run into situations where we're like, he's right. He's right. We've been inside your world and we've seen, like, oh no, he's right. There's people that do care about XYZ that we dismiss because we think that we live in a different world. And sometimes the world is still doing certain things that are not okay.
When Rubenology, which was the show that I did in Gable Stage, it was about my life, my experience, how did I come in. And then Vanessa, of course, she helped me to write down my ideas in English because it was going to be done in English, So and sometimes she write things like pity party. What was it?
Pity party.
I don't know what the hell was.
No idea.
Party.
Zero idea.
I say the word, but I don't know. I don't feel, but I was doing the right thing. Until I said, Vanessa, I'm sorry, but I don't know what is a pity party. So she explained to me what's a pity party. And then was another stuff too, that sometimes for me it's easy to say when I really know what I'm saying, it comes from here, not from here. You follow what I'm trying to say? And that's, and then the show, we talk about stories that happened to me. I remember there was one story that I wanted to do that is about that I had to, when I came to Miami. Miami is not like New York, that you got a lot of work as an actor. You get one movie or two movies in the year and you got one show. But when you New York and California, you get a lot of work. So I remember when I came over, I went to the agency. My agency said, "Listen, I've been here for 3 months and I don't have any job. What? This is unbelievable." I said, "Ruben, this is Miami. Everybody's in the same boat." I said, "Yeah, but my boat is sinking. Okay, so you better find me a job." So she said, "Well, the only thing we have right now is they're doing a movie they call." What's the name of this movie? My God.
Revenge of the Nerds.
The Revenge of the Nerds. Thank you.
I really know his life.
So the Revenge, they were looking for Native American. I said, "What country is that?" And she said, "No, that's how they call the Indians in America, Native America. Okay, if you can become an Indian, okay, I'll give you a job as an extra." So
what year is this? This is 1980.
1982.
82. Yeah.
So I went to the beach and I started get sun to get my face red, because I think the Indians are red.
You can see where this is going.
So my mother has a wig, a black wig. I was bald, so I don't see Indian bald. Everyone has hair. So my mother was all night trying to make that wig very straight, a very straight wig. So, and the next day she gave me a bandana and a little yellow feather. So
all the wrongness. Keep going so that I can explain what discussion we had afterwards.
Okay, so I went in the car. I put the wig on, the bandana, and the little yellow feather. And when I look in the mirror before I go inside, because everybody was waiting for me to be one of the extras, it was a combination of like Prince Valiant and Elizabeth Taylor and Cleopatra, because the hair was like this, like a page, okay? So when I walk inside that place, there were real Indians from all over the United States. There were Cherokee, Apache, whatever, I was the only one. So I'm walking, trying to hide because they were going to pay me $65, so I don't want to lose the money. So I was walking, and there was these two Indians looking at me. I said, "Oh, get out of here. What am I going to do?" So one of the Indians coming to me and say, "Hey, what tribe are you from?" I look at them, I said, Siboney. That was an Indian tribe in Cuba. So the guy started, they said, no, but then the director come in and say, oh, everybody has to sit in this place. So I sit with them, all the Indians in there. And when I look around, I see those Indians with the real hair, and nobody has a yellow feather. So I removed the little feather and I put it in here. So finally, it was around 1 o'clock, and it was very hot. The weather was very hot. And the wig started getting curly. And I hear next to my ear, I hear something like click, 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 click. It was the hair that was getting curly. And by the time the director came in, it was like an afro. And the director said, I think it's in the wrong continent. And he told me out. So in order to keep me in the bread, they give me the hat with all the feathers on the bottom and hatch. So I become the chief of the Indians. And that's how they, okay. So that's one of the stories that I want to say.
Yeah, which now he's like, now I'm going to say it.
So they said, Ruben, the Indians are going to get mad about that.
I didn't say the indigenous people are going to get mad. Number one.
Well,
but we had a whole like a massive conversation about this.
Yeah, I know.
Because I think at the core of everything, Vanessa and I only ever want to protect you and only care about everything. And it is a battle, right? Because that is a true story, something that really happened to you, and it's actually the truth that they would, just cast whoever for what they needed. But we had to make a very tough decision of like, this is, it's a funny story. It's a story that has all of this in it, but can be misconstrued. It can be somebody else can think that it's hurtful.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it was like a whole conversation of like, should this story be in here? And I actually think that it had everything to do actually with each of our perspectives. I hate that this is like an age conversation, but it is like where you grew up and when you grew up and when I grew up.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Makes us see the situation very differently.
Very different. I know. I understand. That's the reason I didn't say the story, but I was feeling bad because I want to say it because I know it was people. I mean, do you laugh? Do you you find anything against the Native American? No, it's like a long time ago. A lot of actors they had to dress in black, and they doing the black actors because they think that they can do better if they put the black mask.
But that's not okay.
But it's not okay. But that's what they were doing at that time, and to survive. That's what I was trying to survive. That's the problem with me.
And also that I think that the reason that story was even a consideration in the show was because of especially that time in your life, which was the in-between time, right? Like it was the Miami Vice time. It was that time where exactly what you're saying, like there wasn't enough roles for you, Ruben. Like at that point, you were also getting killed 5 times on Miami Vice.
That's right.
It's just like an explanation of a specific moment in time. But we also had to consider a lot of things of like, one, did we really need it? Which I think that we realized that to follow your rule of 3, we needed the other 3 stories that we said.
Definitely. The other 3 was rude. They were good. Anybody saw Ruben already? Oh, wonderful. Okay, I got two people.
But before the show, there was the web series.
The web series, yeah.
Which there was always supposed to be a 1-person show, and then 2020 hits, and there's a pandemic. I wasn't even supposed to direct the show at that point. Mm-hmm. It was going to be our friend Robbie who was going to direct the show and do all of that. Then the pandemic happens, and you were going stir crazy inside your house. That's
right. Really, that's the reason I became the president of the building. Because they come over to me and say, we need somebody, and nobody wants to do that job. So, but I say, I'd rather to be doing something than to standing on and sit in front of the TV when I'm supposed to be inside of the TV, not outside. So I decided to become a president of the building, which is It's a pain in the
It-
neck. I know that.
but
Yeah.
it's the best, it's the
But
funniest
it happens.
stories.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But you were essentially trying to stay busy with the building, but your little artist heart was like, for the love of God, somebody give me something to do.
That's right. That's right.
And then I think that at one point there was like conversations of like, could we do a live show outside? And our friend George Cabrera was like, he had like the youth fair space and we could do a show there or something. And then at some point we were going to do, the idea was that we would put a bunch of GoPros around your house
Mm-hmm.
and we would stage the show inside his house and play it like all the Zoom, like you could watch it on Zoom, and it was like each attached to a Zoom screen and you can like watch, and we would block it in a certain way and do that. And then that somehow evolved into us playing with this web series,
Mm-hmm.
which for many parts of it was, some parts of it were successful, some parts of it I think you and I absolutely hate. There's certain parts that you and I know that there are parts that you were like, oh, for the love of God, no. But I think that there was a lot of things that we were dealing with. One, COVID, doing it during COVID time. We were doing it inside your house. So everything was like very, like we had a COVID compliance officer that was in the house and we were always opening all the doors and all of this, and that we had to do it in a short amount of time.
No, I know. Only that. There was the SAG organization, and there was a guy there with a mask. I said, Ruben, you have to put the mask. But as soon as I start working, I had to take off the mask. I said, if I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick no matter what, before or after. So I keep forgetting to put the mask, to take the mask out. It was a pain.
And also that we were inside your space.
And that's right.
Which we learned a lot about how to work with each other during that time, because it wasn't like, I think I learned a lot about how much a day, what a long day is like for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we were like filming inside your house and we had to be there before technically you were supposed to show up, but you had to let us in because you had the keys to the house. How exhausted were you during that time?
But really, we're really exhausted. You know, and then on top of that, when I go to sleep, I'm thinking about what we have to do the next day, so I don't have enough time to sleep. I really, it was very stressed to get all this, to get all this done, and everything is and it's a lot of line and improvisation and everything that we have to do. I'm worried about that the people in the building don't start calling me, hey, you're making a lot of noise, or you're doing something that don't, it was a nightmare.
And also that we had the pressure of, at least I felt the pressure of producing something that was presentable, that was good.
That's right.
Which, like we were saying, like in anything that you make, sometimes you're like, I'm super proud of this. I think like the third episode is particularly my favorite, and it was the fun one, which is like when you do the whole like, see that you're doing the typewriter and like, and I mean, part of that we had to, well, here we go. We had shot that whole episode, and then this was over a span of like 4 weekends. So it's pandemic. We had to do it over the 4 weekends. Were there long days, and then half of the footage of that third episode was lost.
That's another problem. After we did all that, everything half was lost.
Half of that card was lost.
I see, and this is what happened. That's another thing that happened with movies, that we try to do movie with no money. That's so much. I remember the first movie that I did was Los Gusanos, and we did it in Dominican Republic. And I remember the day of the opening night, the movie was a mess because they lost the son of the original movie. They don't have enough money. And when we see, when the first part of the movie that I was in, it was at the El Cine Trail on 37th and I don't know if you know
on
where
8th Street.
On 8th Street.
It's now the Spanish Theater.
The Spanish Theater, they have about 800 seats and they were full. And when I sit there, they opened the movie, I looked like a Martian. I was green because they don't have there was something wrong with the thing. And then the sound wasn't properly. So that's what happened. That's when we do movie, we have to be careful in what we need to get the right, to get the thing right, at least, because
Yeah. And so we somewhere there's a card that's lost, and so we lose half of that episode. And I had made the promise to you that we're done. We're done. We're out of here. We're done. We're not gonna invade your space anymore. All of that. I love that we're bringing up all the problems that there were, but it was actually a really fun time.
Oh, well, it's a
also,
fun time,
but
yeah,
these are
yeah.
the things that you learn when you're also dealing with a global pandemic at the same time, and the consciousness of like you were 82 at the time.
Yep.
82 years old. The vaccine wasn't out yet, I think.
No, it started in 220, no? So 219, no.
Yeah. I don't even think that
No,
the
but
vaccine was out.
It was after we finished with the Cubans. After
No, that
Cubans.
the pandemic started right
Yeah.
after the Cubans, but when we did this like October 2020. So like there wasn't even a vaccine, so there was all this stuff that we were taking risks on that inside of me was like, please, for the love of God, nobody get COVID, nobody give Ruben COVID. No, like there was just like this extra pressure of like, we know we need to do this, and also that I think that we can say we feel a ticking clock. Like I think that the investment that we have, particularly Vanessa and I and Gabe and all this stuff, is like, how does the world not know Ruben Rabasa the way that he should be known, right? Like there's people that know him from I Think You Should Leave, but this is to us, and I know to a lot of people in this room, he is like a living legend, and we feel like there's a lot of doors that you have blazed open for all of us. So that there are, maybe not directly, but so that John Leguizamos can exist, so that Andy Garcia's can exist. All this stuff that when we first started this conversation of him like starting organizations and doing plays and bringing things in Spanish, like he was doing movies in bilingual movies long time before they were like a thing on Netflix, before Narcos is even a thing, right? So there's 60 years of somebody blazing a path, and we refuse that you leave this earth and that nobody recognizes that, and or that they don't recognize it after you're gone, right? Like we want it now. So there was like this ticking clock of that we still feel, this ticking clock of like, we have to make sure that Ruben gets his big blast, which you're getting it. Like I think getting to be an Ant-Man is a big deal, and all of this. And the pandemic is happening, and there's no way to protect this, and we were doing long hours, and the footage gets lost. So I have to call you back.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm very happy what I've been doing throughout my life, even though I don't want to be a big star or something like that. I think the star is inside of me, in my heart, and what I've been doing is what really, really keep me alive and keep me to be in the way that I am, because I think this is what I love. This is my passion, and I'm going to be doing until I die. Even though they keep me so many times that I had to move from Miami to California, and when I got there, the first script that I got, the first thing I went through the script to find out how many, if I'm going to be through the whole movie. So I wasn't through the whole movie, and I found out that I was a ghost. I was dead before I came into the movie. So I used to comment the previous time. So they said, well, that's going to be my life. I'm going to be dead all the time. So, and even after that, on every show that I work in California, I always get killed too. I don't know. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I think that Vanessa and I feel the pressure more than you do.
Yes.
Because I think, and we've talked about this before, I think Vanessa and I we're always very close to our grandfathers, and we both, now I'm going to cry, but we both lost our grandfathers. So I think that there's a certain thing about you that we feel attached to. So to us, you have to, I'm not going to rest until you win an Emmy. Like that to me is, whether you win it or not, it's not the problem.
I already win the winner with you and Vanessa. Okay.
Oh my God, stop. Don't make me cry. Now now we're being cheesy.
No, I don't be. This is the real truth. It's real
No,
truth.
I know, but
it's my rule of three. So they two, you see, Vanessa, Vicky, and me. That's it. That's my rule of three. Okay. So I said, as a matter of fact, I'm writing a show now that's going to be Rubenology Part 2 with the rule of three, and I want Vanessa and Vicky and me do the show. And I
Now
have,
he's putting me to act.
yeah,
This is
they both
he's
have
very
the act.
excited.
Vanessa. That's
We're
right.
gonna keep workshopping that one.
That's right. And I have an idea how to open it.
Okay,
I
but
come in
don't.
dancing, and then I touch you, and you come alive, and I touch Vanessa, and you come alive. And here we are.
This is literal. This is real life, guys. This is what literally happens every time we have a conversation. So let's go back to the lost footage.
Okay.
Because we took so many trains away. We lose the footage, and then I call you, and then I tell you, Ruben, we lost the footage.
Yeah, I know.
Is there a card in your house? We come and raid his house to see if the card is there. The card is not there. And essentially the episode that was written, what we had to do was gap it, meaning like the 3 and the 4, we had to gap it together. It didn't get to do the thing that we needed to do. And I think that I have never been more scared to tell you something in my life than to tell you we have to film more.
Yeah, I know.
But you being who you are, you were like, all right, let's do it.
So what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but it was just I just felt like the exhaustion, like it was a lot. That I think that was when I learned the rule of like nobody film in anybody's actual house. It doesn't matter. But I also know that if you didn't do work during the pandemic, it would have been bad. Like I think, and then you end up doing Father of the Bride also in 2021.
And then I did the Ant-Man and the Wasp because Paul Rudd found out he likes what I did, and I think you should leave. So he called me to be in the movie. So I was very happy.
Hold on, let's talk about this because he calls us, which he wasn't supposed to. He calls us and he's like, "I'm gonna be in a movie with Chris Pratt."
Oh,
and of course, I start losing my shit. I'm like, "You're gonna be not." I would also lose my shit with Paul Rudd, but there's a difference between Chris Pratt and Paul Rudd.
Let me tell you about that because this is something that happened to me. It is fun. My manager called me to say that I'm going to be in the movie with Chris Pratt. So I took my phone, my cell phone. Let me see who's Chris Pratt because I don't know who's Chris Pratt. So I found out that Chris Pratt is a guy, that does a weight lift, blonde eye, very tough. I said, okay, so now I know who's Chris Pratt. So when I got into the set in LA.
No, and you also tell us, and we get super excited.
That's right. I told Vicky, I'm going to be working with Chris Pratt. So now when I got to LA, I went to the set, and over the song, I see Paul Rudd coming. And I say, oh my God, what the actor does to get parts, my God. This guy doesn't look at all like Chris Pratt. But I don't want to say anything, so I believe. So the whole thing was an improvisation, okay? So I don't have a script. So he told me, you are the owner of this restaurant, and when Paul Rudd comes, you're going to give him the coffee and the donut. So I said, okay. So he come in and he said, hi, Ruben. I said, how do you know my name? Well, anyway. So I said, I have everything ready for you. So when he going to pay for that, I said, I know, no way, Jose. Your money is not good here. You are very good. You are doing everything. So he put all the money inside of my tip box. And when I see the tip box, the money, I took the money out of the box. I said, Spider-Man, thank you for that. And everybody started laughing. I said, what is it they're laughing for? I thought it was the Spider-Man. I thought there was, I don't know, there was the Ant-Man. There was too many heroes. You know what I mean? So the director come to me and said, Ruben, it's not the Spider-Man, it's the Ant-Man. Oh, I'm sorry. So Paul Rudd came in and said, no, leave it like that. I love it. Leave it like that. I love it. And then I found out that I was not in the movie. It was for the trail of the movie to make so when they put it in the trail, everybody was laughing about the mistake that I make, and they put me in the movie. And then they make another scene at the end of the movie where he come in after he goes in, out in the other worlds and everything. He coming back to the store, and I say to him, I'm sorry, I know you are not a big bug. you are a different bug. I know that. So, so he say, because it was improvised. I said to, and then he looked at me. That he don't know what the hell he said. He said, "I want coffee." He said, "How much? $12." So, so that's how I get into the movie. That's the mistake that I do sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
And then I was expecting a photo with Chris Pratt, but it was good. It was Paul Rudd, but Paul
But it was
Rudd
for Rudd. Yeah.
ran out to ask you for a photo.
Yeah, that's another thing. He instead of me asking him for a photo, he come, "I want to have a picture with this guy." So they took a picture with me, and then they both were interview. They did an interview at the director and Paul Rudd. They talk very good about me
Yeah,
too.
they
They
loved
said
you a
that was
lot.
very funny and everything. Maybe a little bit. I don't know what to
No,
say.
but that's I think that's the magic of you. You just I don't know, like in Amparo in that dressing room, he was the coolest guy in the room. Everybody wanted to hang out with Ruben, and it was always a competition. To this day, there's people who are like, "Yeah, but Ruben's my friend." I'm like, "Bro, Ruben's friends with everybody. What is this whole like who's the closest to Ruben?" I'm like, it's anyway. But I think Ruben, we've been talking for an hour,
Yeah, I know that.
but I think we should open to some questions.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm going to try the machine thing. We should also talk about the 3 projects
Oh, that's right.
that are coming up that we're doing. But let me see if I can do this. Now I look like I have no idea how this works, but we're going to work it out. Okay. Ruben, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give fresh out of college artists to branch themselves out into directing and acting?
Well, I always say that the first thing you have to know is what do you want in life. Know what your parents want you to do. Most of the time, that's what really happens. Your parents say, "You should be a doctor. You should be a lawyer. You should be this." No, if that's what you want to do, do it. And sometimes they want it to the kid because the kid it's cute to be audition, and maybe the kid doesn't want to do that. They want to do something else. So the first thing is you have to know what you want to do in life. Once you do that, and you go to school and you learn, you have to make sure that you know how to work this business. That's what they call it show business. And you are the show, you know, the business. The business has to take it by somebody else. But you got to know what you're doing, what you want to do. That's the most important thing.
Although now that you said the show business thing, I just watched. I'm obsessed with the new Britney book, and it's put me down a rabbit hole. And I watched the Lou Pearlman documentary, which is basically the guy that managed Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and stole money from them. But one of the Backstreet Boys in the documentary says that one of the best advice that they got, and this is something that I think is also important, is one of the advice that they got is like, it's show business. Don't forget the business side of it.
That's right.
Which I think that's something that when you're in college, everybody's like, oh, it's get the creative going, be creative. Like they train that muscle, but they sometimes, some programs don't teach you how to read a contract. Don't teach you what your rights are as an artist, what residuals are, why there are strikes, why there are renegotiation of contracts, what you're signing away when you're signing confidentiality agreements, why you should have NDAs as writers. You know, I think that's one important thing of like, yeah, you should sign NDAs if you're a writer and you have your script and you don't want someone to steal your property. That's what you need to do.
That's right.
And understand how when you're being managed, what your voice is and being managed and so on and so forth.
That's right. Because it's a lot of difference between, you know, an agency and a manager. The agency, the only thing is collect pictures and send it. And whatever the casting director wants, that's the one they say. But the manager is the one who has to help you to do all the reading, all the things, the business part. Okay, if you only had now the agency, then you're gonna have to do it yourself. But once you can get both the manager and the agency, is good because they both work for you. One is and the manager is the most important one because it's the one that really can read what you're doing, help you, tell you what to dress. I remember a friend of mine, because of the English problem. They asking for, they were looking for a gorilla. How do you say guerrillero
A gorilla.
or gorilla? And
Yeah.
he thought it was a monkey. So he got to the audition dressed as a monkey instead of a gorilla. So you know what I mean? So things like that, and maybe the agency don't explain to him what is a gorilla. So he told that it was a gorilla. It was a monkey. That's so there's a lot of mistake that sometimes the actors do that they don't know what they.
And the business has changed, right? Because
right.
before you didn't you have to worry about cameos now. And you have to worry about your social media presence and your brand and things that when you started, there was no consideration of how many I think there's plenty of times where we're pitching something with Ruben, even the commission film that we're doing for Miami Film Lab that actually Natalie just walked in, that the first Miami Film Lab commission film, there's a short film called Miami Magic, and when we're pitching to sponsors to give funds, now we have to include that Ruben has 50,000 followers and that his demographics are certain things, things that at one point were not part of it.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
How are you adapting? Because I mean, we do this every day, but how are you adapting to now you have to finish some cameos and you have to do this? How are you adapting to that part of the career?
Well, yes. Well, one thing that helped me is the people that surround me. The guy who do the Instagram, he does all the work, but I know what to do. And sometimes people ask me, "Oh, Ruben, you got so many followers. Can you put down the show that I'm gonna do?" I cannot do that because that show got nothing to do with me. It's got to do for you to. So you have to know exactly, and you have to. But the communication is very important. Okay.
And
let me finish this. Okay. I
told you to be nice.
I go by my rule of three again. You go attraction, communication, and love. Okay. So you got it. Once you do something, the communication is very important. A lot of people forget about that. They take for granted that you know, and you don't know. So that you have to communicate that. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, but no, and also for example, we just had a moment with your social media of Ruben is has always been a proponent of the SAG union and following the SAG rules. Anytime that we take a lot of meetings with him, because I think at this point we're just to be clear, we're not his managers. We'll never be his managers. That's what right. It is. But we are his producing partners, I would say. So a lot of people approach him and try to have him be a producer on something, and he'll call us to be let's have this conversation. And immediately when someone's this is non-union, do you think that you can maybe? And it's no, there's no non-union work. He is SAG, you have to follow. If not, he's not doing it. And we recently just had a moment of the social media manager is a social media person, is not privy to the SAG things. And we were so excited because there's a show that's coming out that Ruben is in, but Ruben can't promote the show because it is part of the AMPTP and all that stuff. And so there's certain things that you have to I'm even learning while being one, your friend, two, your partner in a lot of things, that there's so much that's ever evolving that you really have to have an eye on everything. So that's why I think going back to the question of what should a college artist, what should someone coming out of a college be thinking about is everything. Just know that I think that the business side is super important, and what you align yourself to is massively, massively important.
Important. Yeah, it is.
Okay. This person's anonymous, but they're a huge fan.
Okay.
So as a huge fan, can you talk about how your character in the focus group came to be? Would you ever take that character further to other plot lines or situations?
It's like I said before, it was me in that situation. So it will be further in every situation that I go. That was me. I know it was crazy, but sometimes we had in our life, sometimes we are crazy. Sometimes we are normal. So the only thing is that let me see how Ruben would think crazy. Well, I'm going to do the lines like this, and that's what it is. And since people like that, so of course I will like to do the character again.
And a lot of people also, I mean, I am not a writer, and for the love of God, no one should actually put me to write anything. But I remember that during the pandemic, there was a social media influencer. He like works on like Jimmy Fallon or something like that. And he at that point we were the ones managing his social media because he had 3 different accounts with multiple people, and we're like, Ruben, hold on, we got to organize this because there's no way this is your tool now. This is like a super important tool. And this guy reaches out. He's like, oh, I want to do like this comedy sketch thing with Ruben. And I remembered exactly what you said about the I think you should leave, because we read it and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is like, what is this? And then all of a sudden you read it with the guy, and it was the funniest thing I had ever seen in my life. And I realized like sketch comedy is a specific form of writing and something that people understand how to write for you. I think that that's what's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, even when I'm by myself in my house, sometimes when I want to do something, I talk in front of the mirror. I talk to myself, and then I walk by. I say, "Who the hell you are? Who this guy?" So I try to do all the things that, but not only. First of all, I make sure that what I'm going to say in the script that comes from here. So then I improvise to make that thing much better when I'm acting. Again, do you understand what I just say? Yeah, I understand. Yeah. But that's what I mean. I try to make the lines that become from my heart. That's what I always say.
You can still ask questions if you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
in here, but we can also just like have a conversation. So if now we're gonna open the floor, if anybody wants to chat with us. But if not, I do have we could talk. Raise your hand whenever you want if you want to.
That's right.
But there's a couple things coming up. So we have Miami Magic coming up, which is directed by me, starring you, written by Natalie, produced by Jen and Miami Film Lab, which is kind of exciting. And you play a guy who basically owns a version of La Casa Los Truco.
Oh yeah.
There's that. And then there's another film called 123 that is written by Gabe De Varona and Mario Ramil, starring you and Mario Ramil, directed by Gabe, that we're co-producing with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's your documentary.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So what is it like to have people follow you around with a camera?
Oh, I love it.
I know you do.
What are you talking about? I love it.
I know you do. He loves it. And can I tell you that sometimes it's really hard because I don't think you notice it, but sometimes I'm trying to like catch him just be in a moment, right? Because I'm usually the one behind the camera for the documentary stuff. And he can just sense that the camera's on, and he's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm trying to catch you in the call. Do you feel the camera when it's on you?
No, you want to hear this? This is funny. Sometimes I'm in the restaurant and somebody come to me, are you Ruben Rabasa? Yes, I am. So I say, oh my God, I love your show. I think you should leave. So the guy is going to leave and say, hey, please don't leave yet. Do you want to take a picture with me?
He loves it, but it happens a lot. We've been doing some fun stuff which we can't share just yet because we still have some of it to do. But the fan interactions are pretty fun. Mm-hmm. That there was the one time, I think the moment that I knew that we had crossed something, or that we watched you cross something, was when the guy from TSA left his post, stopped the line, came around to come up to you and be like, I love your work and I really loved you in Ant-Man. Thank you so much. And then went back to be security for and that was in LA. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is now something else. Cause here in Miami's people can kind of know who Ruben is, but I think I wasn't expecting that.
Did anybody see I Think You Should Leave? Oh, they all see it. Okay, my God. Do you know I'm doing a new show now on Netflix? They call
You can't talk about it. You can't talk about it.
Well,
there's still a strike going on. This is what working with Ruben is like. I just have to remind him half the time. what things he can and can't do in a strike.
Yeah,
But number one, you're always a supporter of the strike.
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I have a sign in the balcony.
You have a sign in the
They
balcony.
say, I'm on a strike.
I
I
must.
need a job.
Okay, Ruben. I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah, no.
Because I feel like now we're taking them hostage. Like now they're just like looking at us like, okay, well now, so if you, oh, you do.
Oh, you do? Oh, wonderful. Mhm. Well, the show that I'm writing now, they call Rubenology Part 2, is about human behavior. And I always say that one of the biggest problems that we have in this world is the lack of communication between people and the knowledge, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. Uh, it's like I was saying before, that you was in here, and I explained that your life I divided in three moments, which is at the beginning you get educated, then you create, and then you share to the new generation what you, the education and the creation that you had to the new generation. And that's what I want to do with the show. This show, I want to bring what I learned. I want to bring it to the new generation, and that's what I write in that. And that's and I don't care if I get an Oscar, if I don't get anything. I don't care. I just want to leave a legacy, more important than money. At this time, money is not important to me. When I was young, yeah, but right now, what I need is a legacy. I don't mean that I'm not going to get paid. I'm going to get paid anyway. but that's what I mean. Hmm.
That's beautiful, Ruben. Do you have any questions for me?
Don't never leave me.
That's never gonna happen. You're stuck with me forever.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh, yeah. Not that sounds way more braggy than what that award is, but yes. So I born and raised here. Um, I went to FIU theater for college. Which if you go to FIU theater, like I was gonna go to film school, and right when I entered FIU, they cut the program. And I was like, all right, great. So I'm going to, and then I told myself, this is why Meryl Streep is important. I was like, well, Meryl Streep studied theater, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to study theater, and then I'm going to, then I'm going to be a real actor. The joke was that I realized that I didn't care for acting later on. Like if it wasn't to entertain my parents, I didn't care to entertain people. I liked directing. So in college, a lot of what I did was like I started film festivals and things like that are now apparently picked up again in FIU. People are doing the May Madness Film Festival, and it was just a way for us to like learn from each other. And then Miami at that time, since I was so theater heavy, there's like the Actors Playhouse. There was Miami New Drama wasn't even around, so there was Actors Playhouse, there was Gable Stage, and I think Zoetic Stage. And at that time, there weren't roles for people like me. There weren't directing jobs for people like me. So we started doing our own stuff. And the first thing I ever directed was in the house that I live in right now, which is like next door to my parents. And I made my first play there. It was, you could say it was immersive, because it was supposed to be a motel, and I turned it into a motel. And then I worked downtown in this thing called micro theater, and we did plays inside containers. And so a lot of it was just like generating work yourself. And I think that when I moved to New York, I think the final the straw that broke the camel's back, because at that point I was like, I can do both. I can act and I can direct. And then I was sitting down in a non-equity line for an equity show, and I was there from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I was like, this is stupid. I hate this. I don't. It's not for me. There was other people who were like wanted to stand. They wanted to sit in that line. And I'm like, I don't want to sit in this line. This is a waste of my time. I don't even like this role. They probably already gave the role to somebody else anyway. So why am I here? I need to be making the work that I'm making. So I really just at that point was like focused on directing, and I came alive at that point with directing. And so I spent a lot of years there working at Repertorio Español. The thing that really changed everything was I was the assistant director on John Leguizamo's show Latin History for Morons, and that kind of shifted my life, because from there then I got Amparo, and then all of this work started happening, and what directing looked like and the doors that were open, not only in the theater side but in the film side. There was like a long period of time which was just me with $0 and a couple of friends making stuff happen. There's like a very I love it because it's a memory of my life, of a moment in time in my life. But there's this very embarrassing web series called Love Asterisk online, which was done on an iPhone, and $0. Natalie's in it, like iPhone $0 in the middle of New York. Like that was the best time, right? There's nothing like you just being full of creative potential and figuring it out. And then all of that led to Ruben. Yeah.
I have a question for people here. Are you all were born in United States, or you born out of the? Are you born in Cuba? Huh? You native? You too? No. Okay.
But no.
Where do you? Peru? Oh, wonderful! I did 2 movies in your country. Okay.
And then
República Dominicana. Oh,
and from where?
5 películas.
The UK?
5,
Oh,
5.
from the UK.
5. And who was from UK? You? Oh, wonderful. Okay. The reason I asking there is because there's such a play in the Cuban museum. They call the world. The walls are here.
No, have eyes. Oh my God, the walls have eyes. Las paredes oyen.
Oh.
Jesus Christ. These are my friends.
Well,
These are my friends. I can't decide if it's eyes or ears. It's ears. Thank you so much.
And I see the play 3 times already. And the reason I see it is because it's unbelievable when you see that what really is going on in Cuba. And what's really the reason that we had to escape the country. And what they did in the museum, they did something similar what they're doing in the World Trade Center, that you walk inside of the museum and they tell you everything that happened when the 2 towers fall down. So the same thing they're doing in there to let know how Cuba was before Fidel Castro. What did I grab?
Your phone.
Okay, so what Cuba was doing with Fidel Castro, and that's what what I love that. And then you see the play. So if you don't see it this week, try to go to see it, please, because
it is in Spanish. So
it's in Spanish. Do you understand? All of you understand Spanish? Yeah, beautiful. I love you to come and see that, because it's not only for Cuba. It's to avoid that what happened in Cuba happen in the rest of the American continent, that's very important. Okay, that's it.
and this is how you know he's a proud Cuban. No, but it's true. It's very true.
It is true. It is true. It's very important. It's very important to know what we're going through. Okay, what's going on in our country. Well, it's such a beautiful country, and the city is a beautiful city too. So that really is very sad that what's going on in there. So try to go and see the place so you can have an idea more or less what happened there.
I have one last question for you.
Yes.
Do you have any regrets?
The what? About
regrets? What? No? Something in life? Do you regret anything in life that we should all avoid?
That I never got married. That I should have, because in the way that I am, I think I could be I will be a very good father.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a great.
But I'm happy with what I'm doing, because I remember one day this girl that I know, she have a son and she don't know how to handle her son. And I told her, you should do this and this. And she said to me, hey, how can you tell me what to do when you don't even have a family? I said, you know why? Because since I don't have a family, I see what's going on around. And I can check to see how you people are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And that's one of the things that I want to do with Rubenology.
Any show you want to plug?
No. That's it.
So if there are no more questions, thank you all so much for coming out
Yes.
today. You could have spent your Saturday morning doing anything else, but you spent it with us, and I hope you had a good time and that this was a fun conversation for you.
Mm-hmm.